You're listening to the Turi Writers She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marcy Persky. In this installment, when your folks tried to impart their wisdom about dating, relationships, and sex to you, how well did that go exactly? In this installment, Marcy and I do a post-child rearing self-assessment. You know how excited you are when one of your kids gets a new job?
Yeah.
The small cutie just got offered a job, and it's amazing when it's your kith and kin, especially your offspring, how exciting this is.
That is exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm thrilled, and I haven't heard the details yet. But I did ask him why he wasn't reading over the details of the offer tonight, and he said he had a get-together with a friend. And I said, you couldn't make it later? He said it was a school friend he hadn't seen in a while. And I said, a young lady? And he said, I don't want to talk about it.
So that means yes.
Yes, that's what that means. So I'm not sure if I'm excited about that or not, but I'm definitely excited about the job. When your kids were dating, because, well, there's only one who could possibly be dating now. Two are married. One is partnered. And the third one, if Jordy said he was dating, how would that feel?
Well, he has dated before. He could be dating right now. We don't talk about that kind of stuff, really.
Back to that, not talking about it.
Well, he's a grown-up guy now. He's 30-something.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So, no, I think it would be kind of overstepping. When he was in high school, when he was younger, when my boys were younger, I was always worried about them dating because girls are mean. And they dated some mean girls. And breakups are never easy when you're, 17, 18. Jordan tended to keep going back to the same girls.
The mean ones.
And it never ended well.
Oh, no.
And then Benny, I'm sure he's going to love me telling this, but he fell in love with someone that he met online. She invited him to her prom. He saved his money. He flew out there, took her to her prom, came back with mono.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And he was sick for months.
Oh, geez.
And then she broke up with him while he was sick.
Oh, man.
So here's a present. I'll see you later.
It's not exactly the corsage you were hoping for, is it?
No.
The boutonniere. I'm sorry, guys. It's a boutonniere. Girls get the corsage, and guys get the boutonniere. I love that word, boutonniere.
When I was going through this at a much younger age, it seemed to me that all the boys were really knuckleheads. We'll call it that. Okay, they were knuckleheads. But when I look at when my boys were dating. And girls are mean. Whoa. They're different than when, I probably was. Never mind.
You were mean.
I'm sure I was. Actually, I could think of a few.
I was awful.
Right now, like 60 years later.
I was so mean. I had, unlike many girls, I had wonderful boyfriends. Really, all of them, just lovely gentlemen I kept in touch with, and I
went for the worst.
I was just a mess. Well, I did later on. I went into the bad boy phase, but when I was young, there were just these fabulous young men, and they're still interesting. They're still fabulous. I still know a couple of them to this day. And I was a mess. I was awful. I was nasty. I kicked a dent in the Pride and Joy sports car of the guy I liked the best with my clog. Remember clogs?
Yeah, I do.
A wooden clog. And I was just in a fit of pique for no good. Oh, worse. Oh, God, this is mortifying. You ready?
Yeah.
I was in the height of my women can do everything, don't take care of me snotty phase. And he came around and opened the door for me. And I gave him a hard time about it and kicked the door and made a dent. That is probably one of the worst things I have ever done. I was such a bad. I can't believe I'm admitting that.
I can top it. After I graduated from college, I lived in a small town and I had a boyfriend. And my college roommate called and said, "Hey, I just lost my job. Can I come visit?" And I said, "Sure." So I come home from work, and here's my college roommate in bed with my boyfriend.
Ooh.
She got a job 2 days later and had a big crush on this guy who owned the business. So this is so bad. God.
I don't know.
Okay, so
I don't know. It seems like whatever you did to her, she's got coming to her.
well, this is more him.
Uh-oh. Well, whatever you did to him.
This poor innocent guy.
Hold on. There you go. This poor innocent guy. I would just like to point out that the women get vilified for this behavior as though the guys had nothing to do with it.
Well, let me say, my boyfriend, who definitely I vilified, and his nickname was Snake. Okay.
Okay. Well,
I go out with guys nicknamed Snake.
Okay.
So I call my roommate in bed with Snake. My roommate liked this other guy who I could care less about, but just because I was me at that time, I said, okay, I'm going to take him. So I stole this guy that she really liked, somehow became engaged to him.
No.
Yeah.
Just for spite? You became engaged to him just for spite?
No, I got engaged to him out of stupidity because I didn't know how to say no.
Well, that was the problem of your boyfriend as well, and your girlfriend too. They all had a problem with saying no.
We were all like Adu Annies back then, I guess.
Oh my God!
I was going to say no, but yes, I got engaged to this guy who I didn't even like, and I broke up with him. And his mom called and yelled at me and said that he was going to kill himself,
and it was your fault.
Yeah, and I said, that would be your fault because I live far away now. you share a house with him. That's my most evil story.
Well, this is the thing. Girls do bad stuff, and when my kids were little, the older one was still figuring out who he liked. So right there, that tells you what he ended up figuring out. Because the default setting for men is straight still. So I have one gay offspring and one straight offspring who surprises me in sometimes peculiar ways because like I'll pick up a phone and see pictures on there that I'd really not like to see. And and then I have to deliver. So these are the dating speeches. Hold on, I'll give you the dating speeches.
Okay.
Number one, before the eldest had figured out what gender he preferred, he was everybody's favorite good-looking guy to take to prom. And so I had to say, young ladies are oftentimes ready for things before young men. And these girls in this fancy suburb that you're taking to prom, they're used to getting what they want. So don't let these girls intimidate you into doing anything you're not ready to do. And he laughed at me and he said, you realize these girls' parents are probably giving them the same speech about going to prom with a guy from a city of Chicago high school, which was probably true. So that was the speech to the older guy. The small cutie, I picked up the phone one day and I saw some stuff I would rather not have seen. And I said, okay, the first thing you need to know about watching porn is that probably these women, these girls are not having happy lives. No happy, healthy, well-adjusted girl wakes up in the morning and says, I think I'd like to be a porn star. That's not mental health right there.
They kind of do that now, though, with the OnlyFans.
Well, again, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cast aspersion on anyone who you may know who has done this, but usually there's other stuff going on. Again, if your choice is between, say, going to medical school and making your living on OnlyFans, 9 times out of 10, despite the fact that all the girls on OnlyFans will tell you they're doing it to pay their way through medical school, they're lying. And that is not how you pay your way through medical school most of the time. Again, always exceptions. That's the first thing. Second thing is you should know that some of these women are being trafficked. And by watching this stuff, you are participating in their virtual enslavement. And the last thing that's really important, and if you only hear me once say this, I'm not going to have the opportunity to say it again. This stuff they show you on porn sites, this is what guys like. This is not typically what girls like. So
That's for damn sure.
do not use this as a primer on how to entice or please women. That is probably not your ticket. Don't use this as a study guide. Again, there are exceptions. And he just looked at me with his mouth open, and that was the last we had to say about that. But the speech that I had in high school was this: my darling small cutie, you're adorable. Lots of girls are going to be interested in you. And just know that any decision you make now could have consequences for the rest of your life.
And there you go.
Yes. Right. That was me being a good mom, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think I told you I totally blew sex education with the elder one, the big cutie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how does the sperm get to the egg? The teacher called and said he had asked. I'm like, oopsie, library, time to go to the library. Yes.
Pre-internet,
Yes.
when they couldn't sit there and watch porn.
Yes.
This had to have been like 50-something years ago.
Yes.
One of my brothers, who shall remain nameless, my mom would check everything. You could hide nothing from my mother. Nothing.
Wow.
She looked in the weirdest places for all kinds of stuff, and she always found it.
Of course.
But my brother must have been like middle school, and he had a Playboy magazine stuck inside the cover of a Life magazine under his mattress. He was way too young to say, well, I'm just reading it for the articles, or I like the cartoons.
The cartoons were really good. Yeah. And the articles too. I used to read Playboy for the articles. Continue.
I did sometimes.
Yeah,
but
good articles.
Not in middle school.
Not in middle school, no.
No, but yeah, I was just thinking like pre-porn, they really didn't have a lot of outlets besides maybe Hustler, Playboy, and Penthouse.
Those came later. Playboy was the first.
Yep.
So tame. So tame.
All my kids got the same sex talk, and some listened and some didn't. I don't know if I ever told you this, but the night before my first wedding, this would have been in like 1970 something, I don't know, 80.
Yeah.
My mom brings me this 100 million, she comes and sits on the bed and brings me this 100 million year old diaphragm.
What?
And wants to like have a sex talk with me at age 27.
That's kind of charming. Don't you think? It's kind of sweet.
No, I was so embarrassed. I couldn't wait to get on the phone and call my sister.
But that's so sweet, though. And your sister was already married, right? So she had already had the agent diaphragm.
No, my
talk.
sister actually got married after me, but they were living together at that point for like 15 years or something.
At
like
what
that.
point did your mom show up with the ancient diaphragm for your sister?
She didn't. My parents had huge double standards as far as age goes. My sister got away with everything, and then I was the one that was locked in the closet because of everything my sister did.
Well, I don't know. With a flashlight and a Playboy, you could spend a good amount of time in a closet, as I recall.
Flashlight and a Playgirl.
They didn't have those yet, I don't think.
I know. Remember Burt Reynolds with the big
Oh,
fold
yeah.
out?
Yeah, Burt Reynolds was the big Playgirl centerfold. I never thought he was really interesting. But
He's really hairy. That's all I have to say.
That was before the days of all over waxing. There's a guy I worked with. He was a really great guy. He was when I went to work for him, he had this really great thing that he said about his midlife crisis. His sports car, his affair. He said, I always wanted to have a midlife crisis. I just couldn't afford it till now. So he had his midlife crisis, and I found out he and his wife did get divorced. He had married her because in college she became pregnant, and in those days you were a stand-up guy. That was what you did. And they went on to have a couple of kids, and they were married with difficulties. And then when he hit his midlife crisis, that was it. And then I would see him after his divorce, when we were no longer working together, with various women who were not what I would have recommended for him. And then we lost track for a while. I tracked him down about a year ago, and it turns out that he has remarried the woman that he, quote, close quote, had to marry in college because he figured out after years of divorce and inappropriate, trampy women that he actually liked her. So there they are.
I guess you call that full circle.
I guess you do. Thanks for listening to the Turi Writers She Said What podcast. Assuming you like what you heard, you might want to leave us a good review and maybe pick up my book, She Said What? A Life on the Air, which you can get from your independent bookseller or that giant website that sells absolutely everything.